UFC 304 is taking place this weekend. I'm going to give my predictions and breakdown for the fights from the early prelims all the way through the main card. So we're going to start with Shauna Bannon versus Alice Ardelane. I'm going to go with Shauna Bannon. I think she's beat better competition. Up until her last fight, she was on a 10-fight win spree, and her opponents had far better records than anyone Alice Ardelane's really fought. Alice's last loss was to Weili Zhang, and since then has won 5 professional fights in a row with 2 exhibitions in the mix. All of her fights since she lost to Zhang Weili have been against inexperienced opponents, some of them not even having a win on their record. Shauna, on the other hand, has definitely beat better prospects, and she's fighting at a home crowd. I think she's going to get it done. I'm going with Shauna by decision. So next up, it's Mick Parkin versus Lucas Brzeski. I'm going with Mick Parkin. He's on a 9-fight win spree, got a win on the Contender Series, and since then he's had 3 wins in a row in the UFC. He's beat Muhammad Usman and he's beat Jamal Pogues, so both sort of relevant names in the heavyweight division, although perhaps not Muhammad Usman so much anymore. Listen, he's got decent stand-up, solid chin, and he's got very good ground game, a grinding top control sort of game. Brzeski, on the other hand, is 3-1 in the UFC, coming off a win against Volta Walker. When I watched this fight, he had good leg kicks, but kept getting taken down and held down. Got taken down in round 2 as well, got back up, then got taken down again. Listen, I'm going to go with Parkin. Brzeski's 3-1 in the UFC, and he's coming off a win against Volta Walker. In that fight, he did all right at range, had decent leg kicks, but was just there to be taken down at the end of exchanges. I think I'm going to go with Parkin. I think he's going to get it done. I think it's going to be a ground and pound TKO. I think he's going to take down Brzeski. I think he's going to wear on him. I think it'll be a round 2, round 3 finish, ground and pound. Sam Patterson versus Kiefer Crosby. I'm going with Sam. I think he's going to get this done. I'm going for a round 1 or round 2 submission. Sam has just beaten better quality of competition. Although he lost his UFC debut, he's come back and won his last fight with a rear naked choke. Sam lost in front of his home crowd on his UFC debut, and I don't think he's going to make that mistake again. I think he's going to come out. I think he's going to make a statement to try to redeem himself. Crosby, on the other hand, doesn't have a very impressive record at all. He literally was taking exhibition boxing matches not too long ago and lost a round 1 rear naked choke in his UFC debut. So I'm going with Patterson. This one should be a pretty easy fight for him. Probably one of my locks for the card. Bukauskas versus Prachnio. Both these fighters have won most of their fights by KOs and also lost most of their fights by KOs. Similar height, but Bukauskas has got a 4-inch reach advantage. I think Modestas has fought better competition. Although he lost to Khalil Roundtree, he beat Tyson Pedro and Zach Praga. They both lost to Vitor Petrino. I watched both of these fighters' fights with Petrino. Bukauskas seemed to be getting worked at range and then taken down pretty easily. Decent stand-up until he got chinned by a left check hook. But it was a pretty competitive fight. Prachnio looked worse on the feet than Bukauskas and got taken down just as easily. I think Prachnio held back a lot more and sort of accepted his loss a lot more than Bukauskas did. Bukauskas fought. Even though Bukauskas lost worse, I think he's a better matchup against Prachnio, and I think Bukauskas is going to get this done. I'm going to go Bukauskas by decision, and I think it's going to look very similar to how Petrino did Prachnio. So, going with Bukauskas. All right, Oban Elliott, 6-fight win spree, 1 on the Contender Series, then he fought Val Woodburn in the UFC. He's won both his fights by decision, although he did rock Val Woodburn, and he got rocked by Val Woodburn. After round 2, he definitely looked like he was going to win against Val Woodburn, but he just couldn't get him out of there. He couldn't finish him. Parsons is 2-2 in the UFC. He had a good fight against Semmelsberger. He got takedowns, but couldn't really keep Semmelsberger down. Parsons' volume will help him win the rounds. Even when he was clinched up against the fence, he was landing body shots, whereas Elliott was sort of just looking for those one punches against Val Woodburn. Similar height and reach, both well-rounded fighters, but I don't see Oban Elliott getting Preston Parsons out of there when he couldn't get Val Woodburn out of there. I'm going to go with Parsons by decision. I think his volume's going to help him win the fight for sure. So yeah, Preston Parsons for the win. Muhammad Makayev versus Manel Kape. Manel Kape fights in southpaw. He's got very crisp stand-up. He's dropped all 4 of his last opponents. He's got very good feints. He's always setting up a big shot. Kape has a strong presence and sort of just moves forward. He doesn't really let the opponent have any openings. He's very defensively responsible as well as just always feinting. Makayev, on the other hand, 6-fight win streak in the UFC, 11-0, and he's young. He's 23. He's got fast striking and transitions to submissions well when he hurts his opponents. I think it was against Cody Durden that he dropped him and then, dropped him with a knee and then switched to a sub. But he leaves himself open when he's striking quite a lot. He lunges in, and I think Kape can probably find his chin on that. Kape is close to his prime, doesn't have a problem defending takedowns, and is good at finding shots when his opponents are closing the distance. I think Kape's going to hurt Makayev and put him out after a close first round. I think he'll finish him in the second or third round. So I think the first round will be close, a lot more feeling out, and Makayev might get the first round. But I think Kape's going to get his reads, and I reckon he'll be able to get Makayev out of there. But this one will be a close fight, very close fight, I think. And Makayev does have a good chance of implementing his game and potentially working the clinch. And that's where I could see him getting a path to victory. Definitely one of the better fights of the card, so looking forward to this one. Jake Hadley versus Colin Loughran. I might have to go with Loughran. I like Jake Hadley, and he stepped in on short notice, probably just so he can get on this Manchester card. He probably thinks the UFC won't cut him because he took it on short notice, even though he's already lost several in a row. He had quite a few impressive fights pre-UFC. He was knocking people out. But since he got to the UFC, he's won some, lost some. Hadley was almost definitely going to get cut if he lost his next fight and it wasn't on short notice. So this way, if he at least flukes a win, he'll be safe. And if he loses, there's a chance that he won't get cut as well. But technically, I think Loughran will be able to implement a grappling game. Hadley is also moving up a weight class to take this fight. He's coming up from flyweight, in which he was already a small flyweight and got thrown around a bit down there. And now he's moving up a weight class against Loughran, who's at a full camp. I think he's just going to out-grapple him. I think that would be the game plan if Loughran was fighting him normally, if they both prepared for 8 weeks for this fight. But I think Loughran's just going to gas him out-muscle him over 3 rounds, probably get out a decision, but I wouldn't be surprised if he finished him on the ground. But I don't see this fight playing out on the feet too much. I think Loughran's going to take it down, and this might be it for Jake Hadley. So good luck to him, but yeah, way to go out, I guess, on the Manchester card, if that's really what he's thinking. So I don't know. I think Loughran will get this done, though, for sure. Molly McCann versus Bruna Basil. Listen, I'm going to go with Molly McCann. She's been looking shredded in the UFC embedded video. She's been looking in way better shape than she was in her last few fights. She seems fast on the pads, and well, everybody looks fast on the pads, but she does look sharp. I think she'll be able to out-wrestle Bruna. Bruna looks quite thin and lanky for the division. She's 2-1 in the UFC. And listen, Molly in front of the home crowd, I think she's going to be able to get it done. I think she's probably going to get the fight to the ground and tire out. She's going to tire out Bruna Basil. She can finish her on the feet and she can finish her on the ground. Molly is one of the few WMMA fighters that can find the finish quite frequently. So I'm going to go with Meatball Molly. I don't want to bet on her finishing the fight at all. I'm just going to go Molly McCann getting it done. Nathaniel Wood versus Daniel Pineda. I'm going to go with Wood. I think they're very similarly matched on the feet. I think both of them have got good striking. Pineda has got very good leg kicks and can apply pressure well, but he has lost to Cub Swanson and Alex Caceres, and Nathaniel Wood has just fought better competition. He's beat Charles Jourdain and Andre Fili both recently, both decisions though. Listen, I think Nathaniel Wood's going to be able to neutralize most of Daniel Pineda's offense. Pineda is very durable, but I think after watching both their fights side by side, I think I'm going to have to go with Wood. It's going to be a close fight. It's going to be a good striking battle. I believe in Wood to get it done by TKO, but I wouldn't be surprised by a unanimous decision either. I think Wood is just levels above. It should be an entertaining fight regardless. So both good on the feet. I might be overestimating Pineda looking at his record, but yeah, I'm going to go with Nathaniel Wood. Christian Leroy Duncan versus Gregory Rodriguez. I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez. It's going to be a very good fight again, another stand-up battle. Listen, Leroy Duncan has been looking good at range. He's got good leg kicks. He landed a good spinning back kick in his last fight with Riberos. He used his kicks to keep range very well, but he is there to be hit and has been getting hit in boxing exchanges from what I've seen. Gregory Rodriguez is a powerhouse stand-up fighter, good shot selection, good pressure. It can take a shot, although he has been knocked out not too long ago. Both these guys are stand-up experts. This is probably one of the more exciting fights that's going to happen on the card. Leroy seems to stay on the outside more and then close the distance when he gets his opponent closer to the cage. But Rodriguez is always backing up the opponent, looking for a shot to put them down with. This will be a tense fight. They're both big dudes. I think anyone could get finished at any moment, but I'm going to have to go with Gregory Rodriguez getting it done inside the pocket. I think he's going to work around the distance management of Leroy, and I think he's going to find the chin. So I'm going to go with Gregory Rodriguez by TKO, but I wouldn't be surprised if Duncan flipped a reverse guard and got it done himself. So good fight. Wouldn't put money on it myself, but yeah, looking forward to this one. All right, Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. Both of them are really good. Chikadze, he's had some up and down fights. He's got clean stand-up and a decent power for a featherweight. The Caceres fight was fairly evenly matched. He got chinned in the first round from a spinning back fist and he ate it, so he's got a good chin. I think Giga needs to stay at range with Allen. He's got to prevent that blitz. He's got to neutralize that blitz. If he can pick those big single strong shots, he could potentially get a decision. But I'm going to go with Allen. Allen, he lost to Max Holloway and then he lost to Evloev. Both of them really good fighters. Obviously Max Holloway, one of the featherweight goats. And then Evloev, 18-0, undefeated. Close fight as well. It was 29-28, unanimous decision to Evloev, and some media outlets had it towards Allen. Listen, I thought Evloev just edged it out, but Allen is still really good, man, and I think Chikadze's a good stylistic matchup for him. I think he'll be able to put Giga on the back foot. I think he's going to be able to get this one done. I think I'm going to go with Allen by TKO, and if he can't secure the TKO, I'm going to go with Giga by decision. So I can see Giga working the outside, outpointing him slowly, and then Allen blitzing in and catching him. So if Giga can avoid the blitz, I think he's got a good chance of winning a decision, but I do like Arnold Allen's chances on the feet and of putting him out. So I'm going to go with Arnold Allen by TKO. All right, now Bobby Green versus Paddy Pimblett. This is going to be a tricky fight because originally when this fight was announced, I had to go with Bobby Green. Very snappy striking, good boxing, nice 1-2. He's not very well rounded though. We don't really see many kicks from him. We don't see any wrestling from him. He really just likes to stay in boxing range. and he is a veteran. And when I first saw this fight announced, I thought that Bobby would have just seen or fought someone who's brought anything that Paddy Pimblett can bring to the table already. So I thought I was definitely going to go with Bobby Green, but I watched the Paddy interview with MMA Guru, and Paddy raised some very good points. His wild striking could overwhelm Bobby. I don't like Paddy's chances of storming in with his chin up in the air, because I think Bobby will find it. But if Paddy can hurt Bobby, he will follow him to the ground and he will submit him. Bobby's been dropped by Jim Miller and Tony Ferguson in his fights with him, whereas Paddy Pimblett actually dropped Tony Ferguson as well. And both times that Bobby Green was dropped, his opponents just let him back up instead of following him to the ground. Paddy won't do that. That's what he said in the interview as well. Paddy is an opportunistic grappler. You've seen it in his Cage Warrior fights, snatching up submissions. I think Paddy could submit him. I think he could drop him. Potentially, I think he could go flying knee or head kick, something like that, and I reckon he could rock him. But also, I don't like how Paddy leaves his chin up in the air. When he gets hit, it looks really bad on the judges' scorecard. So I could see Bobby winning a decision. Hopefully he doesn't knock out Paddy, but I could also see Paddy getting the submission. I think Paddy's grappling game is underrated. I think he couldn't really enforce it with Tony Ferguson, because Tony is also really good at jiu-jitsu. But yeah, my heart's telling me Paddy. My brain's still telling me Bobby Green. Fuck, Paddy, home crowd. I'm going to go with Paddy by submission. All right, Paddy by submission, but don't hate me if Bobby knocks him out. So, at your own risk. All right, co-main event, Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Blades. Listen, lots of people are counting Curtis Blades out, and somewhat for good reason. Aspinall is a fucking savage and might be the best heavyweight we've ever seen. Not trying to call it too early, but John Jones is fucking shitting himself. I think John would also fight most other heavyweights, so I guess that reflects well on Tom. But listen, Curtis Blades has good power in his hands. He's knocked out people on the feet before, but his game is taking people down, getting powerful top control, and just wearing people out and hitting them with hard shots from the top. If anyone's seen what he did to Alistair Overeem, you should know that you don't want to be on the bottom with Curtis Blades. This man is called Razor Blades for a reason. He cuts people open with those elbows, and when he gets on top of you, it's really hard to get back up. And also, I've got the utmost respect for Curtis Blades doing what he did to Jailton Almeida, because Almeida was about to ruin the fucking heavyweight division, and now we've got at least another 12 months before Almeida gets a title shot. So, happy with that. Thank you, Blades, but I'm sorry that you have to fight Tom Aspinall now, because I think Tom is going to knock you out. Tom is just so much faster. His grappling is elite. He can find the finish on any fighter and will chase it when he sees it. I think he'll learn from last time. When they first fought, he blew his knee out, and Curtis actually had some success on the feet with him. Tom was missing a lot of his shots. I think he knew that he was injured, so he was trying to get Blades out of the fight as quick as possible, and he was just trying not to lose in front of his home crowd. I don't think Tom's going to go the grappling pathway. I think he's going to try keep it on the feet. I think he'll be able to stuff Curtis's takedowns. I think he'll go slower than he did in their first fight for sure. He's going to get some reads in the first round, I reckon. At least the first couple minutes of the first round, he's going to play at distance, get some reads, and I think it's going to be over in a flash, just like the Sergey Pavlovich fight was. I think he's going to start Curtis Blades, unfortunately, because I do like Curtis Blades, and he seems like a really good guy as well. But I think it's destined for Aspinall to beat Blades right now and call out John Jones. He's going to solidify himself as the real heavyweight champ from winning this fight. But yeah, I'm going to go with Tom Aspinall taking out the base early on in Curtis Blades. and then just knocking him out cold. End of round 1 or round 2. I'm going to go round 2 KO this time. I think he's not going to rush it after that first fight. I think he's going to take his time and really make sure that he puts him away properly. Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. Leon is just levels above Bilal Muhammad at this point. Like, the way Leon performed in the third Usman fight when he beat him for the second time, it was really impressive, and a lot of people are still picking against him. Leon was able to neutralize Kamaru Usman's wrestling and Colby Covington's. Even though Colby did fuck all, Colby didn't really even try to wrestle, and Leon actually got a takedown on Colby, and he got a takedown on Usman. Listen, Bilal, he made the Sean Brady KO look boring. Like, how? You made a knockout look boring. It just looked... It was more a poor reflection on Sean Brady's lack of recovery than it was on Bilal's talent. Bilal just came forward and just endlessly PED pummeled fucking Sean Brady on his guard until the referee stopped in. And even then, Sean was like, oh, why stop the fight? He didn't feel like he was in danger. He just felt wobbled, and then Bilal couldn't get the finish for like a minute and a half. Like, Bilal's not going to do that to Leon Edwards. Fuck, imagine he does that to Leon Edwards like the same way Nate Diaz rocked Leon, and he's just like chasing Leon around the cage at the end of round 5. Like, fucking hell, Bilal. I think Bilal's getting knocked out in the second round. His pressure wrestling isn't going to work against Leon. Leon's going to keep him at range. He's going to chew him up with body kicks, leg kicks, hit him with some good straight punches, and I think he's going to hurt Bilal to the body, and then he's going to go upstairs with a head kick, rock him. I think he's going to finish him before the end of round 3. I'm calling it before the end of round 3. It's going to go similar to how their first time in the octagon went, just without the eye pokes, but Bilal is still going to be crying at the end of the fight. So, yeah, Leon Edwards, TKO before the end of round 3. The only concern I've got is how many steroids Bilal is currently taking, or perhaps taking. Just looking at his physique, he does seem to have a huge transformation in his mid-30s, and his head has changed shape over the years too. But I don't know. It's all speculation and hearsay. Regardless, Leon Rocky Edwards getting this done, defending his belt again for the third time against Bilal, remember the name, Muhammad. I think Leon Edwards, head kick KO, light work. Not gambling advice. Don't place any bets based on the information I brought forward. This is just my opinion. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.